So, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Faculty of Informatics and Computer Engineering Education, here to present my project based on the assignment given to us for our last semester. So, I'm going to share my screen to start the presentation. So, based on the presentation given to us here for deep learning lesson plan template. So we're going to make a lesson plan for vocational high school. And here are my entities that I choose. For example, the name of the school, I choose Semester Bilingual Boarding School, and subject that I'm going to present is C++ programming language. And also the grade I choose is grade 1, semester 1. And time allocation is going to be 2 by 30 minutes, 5 meetings in a week. And the name of the teacher is Jamil Shaku Abdurrahman, and the topic is understanding if-else conditional statement, because from the assignment, we were given to use our if-else conditional statement that we use for our last topic. And this is the process we are going to use the template. For example, we are going to start from learning outcome, use the identification to understand learners, for example, as a teacher, to understand your student and subject matter, and also propel dimension. Use learning design to connect learning outcome, interdisciplinary link, learning objective, topic, and others. And use learning experience to organize opening main activities, closing through understanding, applying, and reflecting. Use assessment to plan assessment at the beginning, during the process, and at the end of the learning. So for learning or student, the identifications. So these are grade 10 students of semester bilingual boarding school in programming 2 course. So there is programming language for grade 2 student, grade 10, student. Student, they have a basic computer literacy and introductory knowledge of algorithm and programming concept. So as a student of grade 10, especially vocational high schools, you are already aware of basic like computer literacy, how to use computer. Subject matter analysis. The lesson focus on conditional statement, if else, in C++ programming. Students learn how decision-making structure are used to solve simple problem logically. The material is relevant because conditional statements are fundamental in programming and real-world problem solving. Yeah, the if-else statement, it's very important, especially in C++ and Java programming. Graduate profile dimension. So for the students, their profile dimension, they need to have critical reasoning, creativity, collaboration, communication, and independence. So this one, profile dimension checklist, they are supposed to have faith and devotion to God Almighty, critical reasoning, collaboration, health, citizenship, creativity, independence, and communication. So these are my learning design. The first one is learning outcome. Students are able to understand programming concepts and develop simple programs using algorithm, variable input-output processes, and control structures to solve problems logically and systematically. Interdisciplinary connections. They need to have a knowledge in mathematics, information technology, and problem solving. Yeah, as a computer programmer, you need to have a knowledge in mathematics and also like information technology and have a problem solving skills. Learning objectives. Students are able to apply conditional statement. Yeah, the learning objective is our aim at the end of the lesson, at the end of every class, what the student need to be able to do. Like they need to be able to apply conditional statement in C++ to solve simple decision-making problem and explain the logic used in their programs. For example, at the end of the lesson, from the beginning to the end, the student needs to have adequate knowledge on how to solve this conditional statement. Learning topic, conditional statement if else C++ in programming, pedagogical practice, problem-based learning. So we are going to use, as a computer programmer always, you need to have problem solving skill. I mean, for example, problem-based learning. Yeah, the student need to be able to solve critical problems based on conditional statement. Then learning partnership. Students collaborate in group and discuss solution with peers while receiving guidance from their teacher. Yeah, this one is teaching them about leadership and collaborative skills. For example, they will work together in group, discuss and find the appropriate answer to the projects with the help of their teacher. The learning environment, collaborative computer laboratory environment that encourage discussion, experimentation, and reflection. Yeah, especially this kind of practical activities, it's supposed to be done in computer laboratory. Digital use, where these are the software that we are going to use, the IDE, like Code Block, Visual Studio Code, and with the help of PowerPoint slides, projector in the class, and other online compilers like GDB. Opening activity. For example, at the beginning of the class, problem orientation and motivation. Then principles, mindful, joyful, and meaningful. Yeah, these are the three principles like we have done based on our last week even topic. The student need to be, and the teacher also, mindful, meaningful, and joyful. So this one is very important. For example, the student need to be focused in the class while the class is ongoing, and what the teacher is teaching is supposed to be meaningful and productive. And also the student need to be in a joyful condition. I mean, like in a good state of mind so that they will be able to take what the teacher has been teaching. Then teacher's activity, like greet the student and explain the learning objective. So at the beginning of every class, when the teacher comes in, there is greeting between teacher and student, and also the teacher is going to explain the learning objective. So the second one is present a real world problem. How can a school system automatically determine whether a student passes or fails? Yeah, in this one also, like as part of teaching, for example, students have been taught so that they can be able to learn based on industry based, for example, in this AI era. So they need to learn based on real world problem, not always like to be talking about theory. Connect the lesson with students' daily experience. Yeah, for example, if you want to give example as a teacher, you need to give the example to the student based on their daily experience so that they will be able to apply it and understand it better. Then student activity, respond to the question, share prior knowledge and about programming decision, identify situation where decision are needed. Yeah. For example, during a lesson, of course, a teacher, especially at the end of class, he used to ask some questions prior to what he have teach in the class. So the student are going to give answer, and there's going to be like a mini discussion between the student and the teacher. Then main activity, the main activity during the class, understanding conditional statement. Of course, the principle of mindful, meaningful, and joyful must be applied there also. Explain the concept and syntax of if-else conditional statement. Then demonstrate a simple example, facilitate discussion about program logic. For example, the if-else statement, a teacher in the class, you need to demonstrate a real-world problem about if-else. The student also to be given some little work to explain about it. And student activity, they will observe the example, they will take note about it and ask questions and discuss the logic behind each and every example given by the teacher. The essential knowledge they need to have is definition of conditional statement, syntax of if-else, programming flow, then applicable knowledge, using condition to solve simple programs. Value and character knowledge, logical thinking, responsibility, persistence in solving problems. Yeah, especially problems that needs logical thinking, like it's time consuming and sometimes tedious. So student, they need a lot of time, they need to be mindful, joyful, and meaningful at that time to be able to answer those kind of questions. Applying programming tasks. Teacher provides a problem, creates a program that determine whether a student passes or fail. Guide student in developing algorithm and code, providing feedback during the coding. Yeah, this one is like applying what have been taught during the class. That's the practical session. The teacher will provide a problem, that is create a program that determine whether a student passes or fail. This is an example using if-else conditional statement to determine if a student like got from 60 and above, he passed the course. If you got below 60, he failed the course automatically. So this kind of logical programming codes need to be given by a teacher to the student for them to be able to, for the teacher to be able to analyze whether the student have fully understand the class or not. And student activity, they will analyze the problem, they will design a possible solution to that problem, and also write and test the C++ programming, correct errors and improve the code. Yeah, for example, debugging a code, especially for students for the first time, they are going to have some errors, but after between them, then they are going to have improved their code. Evaluation and reflection. Teacher asks students to explain how their program works. Yeah, for example, a teacher will make them group by group work. So after that, then he will call, for example, each group leader to come and explain about their programming code and facilitate reflection using guiding questions. For example, if there is reflection based on the question, then they are going to check some problem and debug the code. Explain the process, the group leader, identify challenges faced. For example, what are the challenges during writing the code they are faced? Share the lesson learned. What have they learned from that question? Then this is the closing activity. The teacher will summarize the keynote concept, providing feedback and explaining the next lesson. For example, give a little feedback like for the next lesson. Tell them about, for example, introduction and others, just about the next lesson so that the student will go and start learning about it before the next class. Then student activity, they will participate in summary discussion, ask final questions, submit their programming tasks. Then assessment plan. So after all this class from beginning to the end, so there's going to be assessment by the teacher. For example, from the beginning of the class, what have you understand about the student? Do the student learn the course or not? And so on. So beginning of learning, the purpose is identify prior knowledge, technique, oral question, and diagnostic discussion. For example, discussion between the teacher and the student, and some question given to the student at the beginning of class. And student will responses, that's the evidence of them that they have learned that particular topic before the class. And teacher will clarify whether what they have said is true or not. Then during the learning, the teacher, the purpose is to monitor the progress of the students during the learning. And the technique to be used is observation checklists and coding practices. Like group work given to the teacher or individual work sometimes. The evidence is participation and coding progress. For example, how the student participated during the coding class with enthusiasm or not. And also the feedback will be given immediately after the monitoring the process of the learning. End of the learning, like at the end of the class, evaluate. The purpose of that is to evaluate achievement of learning objectives. Does that particular learning objective been achieved or not? Then the technique is programming tasks and rubric. For example, the teacher will give a task to the student to see whether they understand it or not, that lesson. Then the evidence is they have completed the C++ if-else conditional state problem. For example, a teacher will give them a particular problem. If they have solved it, so that means that the student have understand the class. If not, then there are some correction need to be done. Then the feedback, written and verbal feedback that I have said before. They will do it in a group, then later on they will come and present in front of the class. So the learning resources, media, and tools needed for C++ if-else conditional statement. Learning material is C++ programming module, teachers handout, worksheet, sample programs, media and digital tools, PowerPoint slide, Visual Studio Code, Code Block or other online IDEs, projector, YouTube programming tutorial, especially watching video about programming is very important. Equipment used during the lesson, computer laboratory, internet connection, student computers or laboratory computer. Then safety and ethics, practice academic honesty, do not copy others' code without understanding it, use computer responsibly and safely. That's why the teacher is supposed to be in class during the activity so that to see whether the student do it themselves or they copy from others. What worked well? So this one is reflection and improvement that is needed from the teacher. That's why lesson plan is very important for the teacher to have reflection at the end of each and every class and at the beginning before the class also. Student actively participated in discussion and successfully developed simple C++ program using if-else statement. If this have happened, so the student really understand the lesson. What need to be improved? Some students require additional support in debugging syntax error, of course, and understanding logical condition. Sometimes maybe at the first class, the student might have some problems in debugging, but maybe after the debugging the errors, like the teacher explain again about the topic, the student might understand well. And also, if they go home, they read it again, they are going to understand it well. Next action. What needs to be done next? So provide more coding experience and pair programming activities to strengthen student programming and problem solving skills. That's why assignment is very important. If the teacher is giving assignment to the student, so they are going to practice more. It will push them to practice more. That's why having assignment is very important. Like it will push the student to do more, to solve more, to do it by themselves, and they are going to learn it well. This one is teacher, the role and the name, Jamilu Shak Abdurrahman, the date, head of program or department, Mrs. Putri, principal or supervisor, Mr. Budi. These are references. Thank you very much. This is my presentation based on this topic. Thank you.